Good day, everyone. Let's talk about the flowcharts and block diagrams. From your first topic in your core syllabus, this is our week 1 to week 3 na stated in your core syllabus. So now let's review the block diagram and flowcharts intended for this course. I know for sure that during your programming days or since every semester you have your programming, you're very familiar with flowchart and block diagram. Let's have a recall. Flowchart is a picture of the separate steps of a process in sequential order. It's a generic tool that can be adapted for a wide variety of purpose and can be used to describe various processes such as manufacturing process, administrative or service process, or a project plan. So the usage of the flowchart is very wide. Now, you can use it also sa work, no, sa studies, everywhere. So it's very, very important. Also with block diagram. Now, block diagram is a diagram of system in which the principal parts or functions are represented by blocks, which are connected by lines that show the relationships of the blocks. So we also have input, process, and output, which is from the block diagram. So input is the materials used in order for your system to be achieved. Okay? So unsa tong mga gibuha or mga materials na gigamit nimo para ma-achieve ang output. Now we also have the process. So of course, we have to have the process para ma-achieve po ng output. No, dili man pwede tan-awon lang nimo na na output, di ba? Everything should always come with process. Like you being successful soon, you work hard and have perseverance and be optimistic. The output would be being successful. So now let's talk about the block diagram once again. It is a specialized high-level flowchart used in engineering. It is used to design new system or to describe and improve existing ones. Its structure provides a high-level overview of major system components, key process participants, and important working relationships. Now, a block diagram provides a quick, high-level view of a system to rapidly identify points of interest or trouble spots. Now, in block diagram, dili siya medyo detail, no? The level of detail required for comprehensive planning or implementation is not that very detailed, no? Because naabot tayo ginatawag na flow chart. So a block diagram will not show every wire and switch in detail. So ang trabaho ana naga detail gyud sa planning is ang circuit diagram. Now a block diagram is specially focused on the input and output of the system. So wala siya labot unsa ang gahitabo sa input ug output. So that principle is called black box in engineering. So either the parts that get us from input to output are not known or they are not important. So wa siya ilabot kung yun sa nimo ang process, no? Now, this is an example of a block diagram sa scoreboard. So here you can see the inputs, no, and the block diagram shows from our definition earlier. So they are represented by blocks connected by lines, as you can see. Okay, now how do we make block diagram? Block diagrams are made similar to flowcharts. You will want to create blocks often represented by rectangular shapes. Now those represent important points of interest in the system from input to output. Now there are also lines that connect the blocks which will show the relationship between these components. So let's say for example kani so natay pulse and then random number generator and switch controller. So the wires here represent the relationship between the three or the two. No? So let's now have the symbols used in block diagrams. Block diagrams use very geometric shapes, boxes, and circles, but you can see na pinaka-common ang boxes. Now the principal parts and functions are represented by blocks connected by straight and segmented lines illustrating relationships. So when block diagrams are used in electrical engineering, the arrows connecting components represent the direction, so direction daw of signal flow through the system. So for doing no, the best practices in a block diagram, we should identify first the system. Unsa na system nga to ang buhaton? For example, katong scoreboard. Now, let's identify now or create the label, no? Create and label the diagram. So you add a symbol for each component of the system. So of course, what components, no? Identify na nimo. So sa pag-identify nimo, you already know the inputs and the outputs of the system. And then magbuhat na ka og mag-label na ang diagram. The next is you have to label the input and output. So label the input that activates a block and label the output that ends the block. And the last one is to verify accuracy. Of course, how accurate is your system? Dili pwede magbuhat-buhat lang kag system diha na palpak, di ba na mali. So you have to consult with all stakeholders or your mentors, no? Uh, anyone or even on the internet, you can see that there are a lot of system na na-prove nila that it's working. So that's how you verify your accuracy. Now, let's say, for example, in my thesis na approved block diagram in my master's, we have here um, Raspberry Pi, of course, as the input, and also the Raspberry Pi camera module. We are also going to use that. But the first thing that we need to have is the papaya leaf. So this is the flow of this one. We have the papaya leaf, which will be scanned by the Raspberry Pi camera module. So, si Raspberry Pi na siya camera module, iscan niya ang papaya leaf. And of course, si Raspberry Pi camera module will not work without the Raspberry na hardware. And then, the power supply unit will supply, of course, the Raspberry. So, how will it turn on without a supply, right? And then, the output of the scan papaya leaf will show in the LCD screen. Okay, so I hope you understood about the block diagrams. On the next video, we will talk about flowchart. Thank you.